Revenge of the Sith. Today we are going to discuss the character of Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, our prince, our amazing, lovely knight-turned-prince. Today I'm with Lee and Denise.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm sorry about the cheesy intro, guys. So we're going to talk about why he's important, why he's relatable, and why we all love him. So guys, why do you think he is an important character?
First, I was just gonna say that I think everybody loves him. It's universal. It's something that people went crazy about Ben Solo, and people liked Kylo, and so that's something really big. But I think he's important because one reason for me is that he's I was gonna say look at Leia. The Rise of Skywalker is look at Leia. I'm getting crazy here. It's his look.
Is this Game of Thrones Star Wars style?
it's the freaking the Rise of Skywalker is it's look at Leia, and I don't know. They really inspire me.
Chris Terrio, what's warped your mind, Denise?
Yes.
He's important because he's Han and Leia's son, right?
Yes. So that's one reason. And I think another reason for me is that he has a very clear conflict. He has a very established conflict and a very established personality that we can relate to. We're going to talk about it better. But it makes, in the story, usually we look at whoever has the biggest conflict and biggest internal conflict to drive the story. And he has this really interesting story.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of summarizing it. For me, the reason why people love Ben Solo is because he is the most human out of all the in my opinion, the sequel trilogy, like new characters that were introduced. He's the one that's the most flawed, the most relatable in terms of what he's struggling with is things that we can all identify with. And the fact that he is, a legacy character. He is the Skywalker. So there's a lot riding on him. And when you have a character who's that complex and that relatable, and you have a charismatic, excellent actor like Adam Driver bringing him to life, it's just a perfect combination of factors that just makes him be the thing that you're looking at whenever he's on screen. You're kind of paying attention to what's Kylo Ren doing. So he's the one that you are most drawn to out of all the new batch, in my opinion. And then also, he's a tragic figure too, and we tend to root for characters that we can empathize with and feel compassion for. So he's got it all, basically.
He's got it all. Yes, I agree. I mean, I think what Lucasfilm tried to do. This isn't my words. I saw it. I saw these comments on a forum. They obviously, had Rey as the protagonist and the first female protagonist, no doubt, and they obviously wanted people to relate to her. But they ended up making the villain of the sequel trilogy so good, whether it was in the hands of Kasdan or JJ or Ryan, they made him so identifiable, and also, even though you can debate on whether it's good or not, we saw his journey from, this guy trying to be the big bad and try and follow up to the legacy of Darth Vader. And, some of us do know what it's like, whether it's, like a family legacy or trying to do the best for our family or trying to be the best at something in competition. And, the stress of not living up to that, I think that's why we identified with him. Yeah. And also, we saw him move from that to having this huge bond with Rey, and that of course just stole all our hearts. And then that's when we started to root for him and for him to come back to the light side. Mm-hmm. And also again because he's Han and Leia's son, and that family has been through so much. I think that another reason why a lot of us wanted him to turn good was for the sake of the family.
Yeah. I disagree that he was the villain. I think he was always meant to have this opposite of Vader arc, even though maybe they kind of blotched it. But
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
But I see that even if they say no, but Rey is the protagonist. But he has her relationship with him and seeing him and perceiving him differently, and the way he can be perceived as her shadow, and how he affects her is interesting too when looked through her eyes. So I mean, when you look at Rey and her trajectory, I didn't see that much. Her biggest struggle, her biggest, clearest conflict was in relation to him. And it was very interesting. So it was something that was drawing us as well.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing that I came to realize about Kylo Ren is that people like him, and for different reasons. So he appeals to just such a wide variety of people. The biggest hater that I ever knew of Kylo Ren was my mom. And I talked about this in some of our earlier episodes, that she just hated him because he killed Han Solo, and Han was her favorite character. But by the end of the sequel trilogy, when all was said and done, she was upset that he died. She was like, how could they do this? You know, he's not just somebody. He's Han and Leia's son. How could they just end it like that for him? So she was just kind of outraged about it. So she did a complete turn on him. And then there are other people who just like him because we can relate to him, like, you know, with his anger issues. Anybody who's felt like, you know, an imposter or feelings of inadequacy, that's a very common thing for people, especially young people who are trying to find their place in the world and who feel, like you said, that they have to live up to this great legacy. And also just whoever is a fan of, you know, romance. And we've talked before about how he was designed to be like the Darcy character of the sequel trilogy, right? So there's thought that went into the character design to make him appealing to a vast variety of people, and I think they were very successful in that regard. They did not do him justice, I don't think, in his arc, but they certainly built a great character from the ground up.
There's something else that he's so strong and so cool. When we first see him, he has like he might be from the movies, like he has the coolest force powers, you know, he freezes that. It's a very great introduction. So he's and the way he uses his lightsaber, it's not flashy like the prequels, but there's this thrill, you know, it's very cool. It's very nice to watch. Even I remember when I was looking at the trailer for The Force Awakens, like, oh my God, this is so cool. And so that's the cool factor too. That I think for movies is a factor as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's very eye-catching, right? In his costume design, yes. Even the mask. And we heard about how JJ, one good thing he did was that he was determined that Kylo should look cool, right? He wanted them to work on a cool-looking mask that was unique and like easily identifiable, like this is Kylo's mask. And, you know, the man gown, like we talked about how it was just very, very fitting for his persona too, like to hide behind these dark robes. And then when you remove all that, the person that's underneath there is fascinating because of all the contradictions that make up who he is, right? So the layering also is very interesting and well done, and I think that's part of why he's so fascinating.
I also want to like touch up that maybe you know, as the films get on, he becomes a lot more comfortable in his masculinity. I think, like with I'm sure you've touched on this in the Kylo Ren and Masculine episode in TLJ, but as the films move on, he kind of wears like the man gown, and then moving on to the Last Jedi, not only is the man gown gone, and he fills out, you know, you can just see, if you look at Adam Driver's arms in the elevator scene in TLJ, he is massive, and of course he's just got this huge masculine body, and he's very aggressive in the way he fights as well, so I'm wondering if that also helped you know, the appeal of his character due to how, you know, masculine he is and how attractive that is.
But he has some kind of that's also feminine, right? He's soft,
yeah.
He cry. I think it's the combination of them both that makes it interesting, you know? Like if he was just like I think that's what makes it interesting.
No, yeah, it does, because there's like a mixture of both. Like there's the masculine traits that he has, and then there's the feminine traits that he has. And he displays like, you know, huge like compassion and empathy to Rey especially. And we've said it before, when he looks at her in the forest when she first gets the lightsaber, he's not threatened by her power or her femininity at all. He loves it about her. He's just like, wow, you can see it in his face. And I think that's why a lot of people, particularly women, love this character, because, you know, they feel empowered by his fascination of Rey.
It's a tough I was just gonna say it's a topic. Women, unfortunately, even nowadays, are afraid that if they display their power, they're gonna be men are not gonna like them. You have to kind of talk less. My mother said, "Oh, her mother told her, no, you can't be intelligent. Men don't like intelligent women." So it's different.
Well, one thing that I really like about Kylo is that he's interesting on his own, but then when you have him engaging with other characters, it also makes that more interesting. It makes that dynamic fascinating. So, and that's true not just for him and Reylo, though obviously that's the central dynamic and relationship for the entire sequel trilogy, but also when you think about like Kylo and Hux and Kylo and Finn,
yes.
right? Kylo and his parents, or Kylo and Luke. There's always a lot of layering there that makes those relationships and the other characters by extension more interesting too. So can you guys talk a little bit about where they really succeeded and what you would have liked to see more in that regard?
Oh, straight away, I'm still annoyed that they had Hux as the spy for the Resistance, and he barely had any scenes with Kylo in the Rise of Skywalker. I love their dynamic in the film, and it's just I'm sorry, I'm still really annoyed, especially after TLJ, where you see that scene where Hux, I think it was Donald Gleason's idea to do that, but you see Hux start to take out his gun, and he really wants to kill him and take over, and then you see that glare at the very end of TLJ in the crate base, and I was like, oh my god, the potential for this in episode 9, God, it's going to be so good, because it's pretty much, I remember when The Force Awakens came out, I saw a lot of comments saying that, Hux and Kylo together, they're just whiny little boys, why aren't they like Tarkin and Vader? They had a respect for each other. And I'm just like, well, that's the whole point. They're the complete opposite of Tarkin and Vader. And it really would have been nice to have seen that conflict come to a head and maybe have Hux try and, stage a coup against Kylo and, throw him out and, take over the First Order, and then have Kylo, come back, because they were kind of like, brothers vying for Snoke's attention. And maybe it could have been a bit like Blood Brothers, with Kylo being the good brother and Hux being the evil one, and good eventually wins, and Hux kills Kylo.
Yeah, it was a good dynamic. I would have liked to see him maybe with Finn, especially
That's
because
what
of
I
the
was
Force
thinking.
Yeah. Especially, no, I agree.
Even a little maybe with Poe. I remember somebody said, imagine if they had to have like this uncomfortable alliance with Poe and Finn. This is, and I said, this is so easy. If you were to put in the Falcon, Kylo, Finn and Poe, the dialogue writes itself, the tension is there, like if they had to have this strange, because this is something that we see, like especially like in Eastern media, when they have to ally, and it's so cool. And but
that would have been funny, that would have been witty, it would have been interesting. To be clear, I'm not complaining about the fact that Kylo was almost exclusively always with Rey, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that foil, that Finn and Kylo were for each other, and that Poe and Kylo are also, because you have the Leia's sons, kind of rivalry that they have, where Poe is now the good son and Kylo is like the damaged one that screwed up, and is replaced by this good boy. And then you have with Finn and Kylo, they're unique in the sense that they're both traitors, and they neither of them fit in within the First Order, and they recognize something in each other that other characters don't share. So that I thought was such a wasted opportunity, and especially when you add the layering of Finn's Force sensitivity, which has since been confirmed, that would have made it all the more interesting too. So it's too bad they didn't explore that, because that was set up really nicely in TFA, and it was just kind of dropped,
Yeah, especially with that fight, and you even could have had through the eyes of Poe and Finn. Maybe they don't trust Kylo, and then he could have saved them both. And maybe even Poe and I know this is just wishful thinking, but maybe even Poe and Kylo could have had just a little moment where they breathed over Leia together, and that sort of bonded them as Fireforged brothers or something to take down the First Order. That would have been incredible to witness.
Yes.
And one of the things that I really didn't like in Rise of Skywalker was the fact that Poe just seemed like the golden son of Leia, and yeah, it's just wasted. But
it would have been really good if like Rey had brought Kylo into the fold, and then they would have that uneasy alliance, like you said, Denise, where there was tension, but like Kylo could prove to them that he's working on the side of the good guys. As it ended up being in Rise of Skywalker, nobody but Rey saw his sacrifice. Nobody saw that he eventually set aside all this Kylo Ren quest for being master of the universe kind of thing, and decided to just sacrifice for love and for, to save people. Rey was the only witness to that, and it's a shame. It would have been really nice if the others, especially Poe, especially Finn, would have gotten to see that.
Yeah, it would have been a nice arc.
Also, Chewbacca. Mm-hmm. I mean, Chewbacca saw him murder his best friend, so that would have been really nice. And do you know what I would have loved? I would have. Do you remember those concept arts where where Kylo was like with Chewie and Chewie was all chained up, Denise? Mm-hmm. Maybe if that was in the film, Kylo could have been the one to release Chewie, and further down the line, Chewie could have been the one in the Millennium Falcon bringing Kylo to Exegol or Exegol or however you pronounce it, and maybe Chewie could have even been the one to give Kylo that blaster that he had as a way of not only saying go and get your girl, but I forgive you for killing Han, and there could have been a little moment between them. Mm-hmm. That would have been amazing. Yeah,
it would have been meaningful. But we can't start. The Rise of Skywalker didn't do a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think you guys were talking about him being relatable. It's something that I really wanted to focus. I think one other reason is that he feels unlovable. This is something I just recently realized, that because I've noticed other characters that feel unloved and feel unlovable. Not that he was not loved, but that I think that feeling of not being loved, I think it's something that everybody has, and like kind of overcoming this feeling and saying, oh yes, I deserve to be loved. I think it's like it's human struggle that it's very, very nice and very nice to see. And in a way that was a little bit well done, I guess, because even in the Rise of Skywalker, when he is surprised, for example, that Rey saves him, or that Rey wanted to take Ben's hand, so that I think that worked in that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a very good point, Denise. When there were in that sense some good moments in the Rise of Skywalker that were, I think, very healing for Kylo, where he got he was shown compassion by Rey, by Han especially. That was really important when he got his dad's forgiveness. He needed to see that that he was deserving of that, and so that allowed him, I think, to reach that state of integration where he's able to just be Ben Solo and Kylo and go and fight for the good guys. So that was well done, but it was, again, very subtle, so.
But luckily, due to the power of Adam Driver, I think most people saw it. I mean, that whole scene, that whole scene where he takes out, the lightsaber from Rey, like he holds it from over his shoulder and beats the crap out of the Knights of Ren. That's a massive scene. I think it's a really popular scene. You even had that whole thing with on Twitter.
The challenge.
The challenge. Yeah, even what's his name, the actor who played Chewbacca did it, which was really funny.
Yes, he did it so well. It was amazing. I loved Adam's portrayal of Ben Solo. I think for a long time we were wondering how he would look like. And what I loved about it is that his movements were fluid and relaxed. And he was relaxed. His face was relaxed. Whereas with Kylo, everything was tense and stuff. So we see that he was forcing, and it has a meaning as well, that he was forcing himself to be that person, and that was not who he really was. And then when we see the fluidity of Ben Solo, we see, okay, that's who he really is. And I really enjoyed seeing it. And that's another reason why he's popular, because of the acting and because it's so nice and it's so interesting. interesting.
I think that a lot of younger people too, I think, can relate with the idea of having to pose, as something that you're not, to feel like you're showing a stronger version of yourself and hiding your inadequacies and your insecurity. And Kylo, like in many in literature and film, that's exaggerated, right, and taken to an extreme that you can recognize easily. Without having to sit in like psychotherapy sessions talking about the deepest secrets in his heart, you can see what he's doing. You can see, or at least people who paid attention, right? Because a lot of people missed it and thought, oh, that's who he really is. But yeah, that the way that he balled his fist when he was walking, right?
Yes.
And the rage that's emanating from him, and that kind of calculated way that he speaks, almost robotic sounding, and the fact that he has to dress up, basically cosplay every day of his life, cosplay Vader. So that was very well done. And so then when the layering is removed and you get to see the person underneath, Adam Driver, I thought, did beautiful portrayal, like you said, Denise, of the brief moments where we get to see Ben Solo. That was really nice. And I thought, again, that moment with Rey, those brief moments that they shared, I thought were very well done. The acting was on point, and there was a very nice kind of tenderness underneath, the intensity there. So that was something I thought that Episode 9 did well.
No wonder their kiss was shown in the Oscar as one of the best moments in 2019, because it was. It is good cinema. It is amazing cinema. And that's what we go to the cinema to watch. I also saw some people posting some reactions of people cheering at that time. Unfortunately, usually these reactions come from Latin America or Asia. That's where people, I guess, were rooting more for, more romantic. I don't know, for the kiss. But yeah, it was amazing. And I think it was beautiful. I know the movie had problems, but his Ben Solo part was beautiful. The kiss was beautiful. So there was something cool in it.
Yeah, it's just a shame that the only dialogue they gave him was "ow." It would have been nice to see like him speak, like even if you were saying like how his voice is, maybe his voice could have been different when he spoke as Ben Solo, and we'll never get to see that.
That's true.
we can try and imagine it, especially when we read the Ben Solo comics, but we'll never get to see it unless they bring him back, which I doubt.
With Adam Driver, I still think they're gonna bring him back, but this is something we can discuss in a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think I agree with you. But on the other hand, maybe the dialogue was really bad, But yeah,
and that's why they
I mean, maybe. Of course it was really bad. But then you can say, no, but Adam Driver could make some dialogue be good. Yeah, okay.
You're a Palpatine.
Yeah, it wasn't good, but, he recorded last minute in his, anyways.
In his wardrobe, apparently.
So...
Did you hear that? Did you hear about that?
I did not know
that. Yeah, there was...
In November, like November 20th or something, there was somebody who came to...
Matthew Wood.
Yeah, to do some... recordings of some lines to say over, and we know there were lines that would be said with the mask, and he had very few lines with the mask. So I really think that Yura Palpatine came there because her reaction doesn't match, the dialogue doesn't match. It's weird. Not that they necessarily decided to put Palpatine at that moment, but maybe the reveal was different.
It's interesting to see.
Yeah, so the line really came out a little odd, if you remember it. So how do you guys think? Do you guys think he can come back, and how?
Well, I know there's like a load of rumors about him probably being in the World Beyond Worlds. Girls of Saber did a really amazing episode on that, and I hope you guys check it out. But I mean, I like the idea of him maybe being in the World Beyond Worlds, and it would be awesome if Rey has an arc where she does anything to like try and go to the World Beyond Worlds to bring him back, and maybe like loses herself a little bit. That would be a great character arc for her. But I don't know, with the way, I'm going to be honest, with the way Lucasfilm have been, they've been kind of like, the way they've been reacting to the Ben Solo character, and on Twitter. Like, there's been so much positive Ben Solo stuff and Reylo stuff from, like, you know,
everywhere
on Twitter, everywhere, apart from Lucasfilm.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I don't know. At this point in time, I'm going to be honest, I don't know. I doubt it, just by the way they're reacting.
It feels like,
I think,
like they're disowning him in a way. I agree with you, but
yeah, but things are fluid, you know.
Yes.
The people who are at Lucasfilm now might not be there in a few years, especially if you know, the people who were involved with the sequel trilogy. I don't think that they did a good job, and I think that that's an understatement. So I don't know. If going by what they're doing with The Mandalorian, which is amazing, I'm pretty hopeful that a new team could value the character a little bit more. And, you know, like Luke said, no one's truly gone ever. So, like, he can come back. Why not? But probably maybe in a cartoon show or
Comics.
a novel. Yeah, a comic. I don't see Adam Driver suiting up, although you never know. Maybe like they'll pay him millions and millions.
I think in a few years from now, 10, 15 years from now, he could come back, like the way Harrison Ford did, but not right away. But I'm gonna explain. I actually think they should bring him back, and I'm gonna say I wouldn't have been so angry. I'm not angry, but disappointed with the death. If it had been beautiful, and you know, there are ways to do deaths that are cool, but it was so it lacked catharsis. So I think the reason they should bring him back is that the people who still care about the sequel trilogy care mostly about Ben Solo and would like to see him back. And you can say, okay, but comics, cartoon, books, how is that going to help? I think it helps in solving the lore, the mythos, the family. For the people who care, it would heal, you know. And the reason why I think they should do it is, first, not to decimate the Skywalker family and put somebody like to usurp the name, and second, just because if they leave it like this, there's like a wound in the fandom that's gonna be open and a lack of trust. So that's gonna affect their things in the future, you know. It's possible that, because you see, it was huge, the box office was huge, and all these people, like, you know, there's a bad taste in our mouths, and I think it would be important, even if it's just novels and stuff.
I hate to be cynical about it, but I really don't think they care about the fandom's grief or the wound that you're describing, which is the pain that is felt by even casual fans and the little kids, you know. Everybody's upset that he died. And I think, like you said, Denise, not just the fact that the death was so flat, the fact that it wasn't even acknowledged by anyone after his scene, like after they erased him, basically. The story, the music, the other characters, no one acknowledged that he was gone and that he sacrificed himself. So it just fell flat. So it feels like there's unfinished business there, right? So I think from a standpoint of the Skywalker legacy, finishing his arc and doing justice to it, but also from a perspective of cold hard cash, like Kylo Ren is an extremely popular character. If they do more Kylo Ren products and storylines, people are going to buy into it because they love him, you know. So it's stupid to just let that drop and end there. So I think probably with time, they will revisit Kylo.
Yeah.
I'm not. I have to. Sorry, I do agree with you 100%. Lee. I mean, some of the things coming from associates from Lucasfilm towards Kylo Ren fans, it's not good. It's not very nice. And I've noticed, like, I like going around stores to see what merch is available. A lot of the Kylo Ren merch in shops, they're not replenishing. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on, but for example, I went into Build-A-Bear a few weeks ago and asked a lady there if there were any Kylo Ren bears, and she said, no, we haven't had a massive stock in since before Christmas. And even when I went in with you, when I went to visit you where you lived, we went into a Build-A-Bear store, and again, there was no Kylo Ren bears there. So, and again, I've gone into the Disney store. or that there's no Kylo Ren hoodies, which they did have available before Rise of Skywalker came out. That, you know, I mean, I don't want to sound paranoid, but I mean, it could be the fact that, you know, other merch just isn't selling, especially after the reaction from the casual fans and general audiences to Rise of Skywalker. Maybe no one's just interested, but I'm wondering if they're just trying to erase him and push other characters to sell.
I think they're trying to erase the sequel trilogy, not Kylo.
Yeah. The sequel trilogy in its entirety is a stain on.
It is understandable because it's, you know, they managed to piss off everybody. But I was just gonna go back because you said, oh, they don't care about the wound. No, but people who are angry and hurt don't spend money on your brand. It affects the brand, you know. And
they should realize that, because they have been affected already. I just saw that Rise of Skywalker dropped out of the top 10 all-time, you know, best-selling movies, and they're more, you know, that's the Jumanji movie hasn't even come out yet, and that's probably going to push it down even further, you know, low. So they've already suffered. The Star Wars brand has suffered because of the disaster of Episode 9. So I think yeah,
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm sorry, but you know, I unfortunately I've never been able to watch Clone Wars or Rebels in its entirety because I've just not been able to like afford the you know, the DVDs or Blu-rays. And before I had Netflix, it was on, but then when I got Netflix, it had been Clone Wars had been taken off. And I did want to, like, you know, I was very curious about Disney Plus, especially so I could watch this and The Mandalorian. But after Rise of Skywalker, I have no interest whatsoever to buy Disney Plus. I don't want to watch The Mandalorian, even though I watched the first episode with you. I don't want to watch Clone Wars. I don't want to watch Rebels. I have not spent a penny on anything Star Wars since Rise of Skywalker. Not even on Kylo Ren merch. And, you know, I'm actually heavily debating whether I want to go to Star Wars Celebration or not after what's transpired these past few weeks. So, you know, and I'm just one individual, so I can't speak for anyone else, but I'm wondering just how many people feel the same way as I do if the, you know, brand is dropping.
I think big fans turning away is a minority, but I think the big problem is with the general audience, you know, because it's not a story that they want to come back and love, you know. The big money is with the general audience, and it just fell flat with the general audience, and they're not gonna get people that are gonna start loving it, you know. So there's a hole there.
You know, like I realized I've only seen that movie once. It's the first time in my life that I actually just didn't go back to see it because, you know, I enjoyed it in the moment, but then the more I thought of it, and I thought, wait, what the hell did I just watch? So it's not a movie that you keep coming back to, and it just ends the entire thing on a very sour note. So I understand that they're trying to distance themselves from it, kind of erase it, reset, you know, and get people excited about other Star Wars content. But I still don't think that means that that's the end of Kylo Ren. I think that we can expect in some time we'll have to go by. I don't think that we're going to see anytime soon something major happening with him. But I do think it's such a good character. It's a very beloved character, and with the right people who can tell a good story. So definitely not sequel trilogy people. I think that eventually they can do something really nice for Kylo's character and the Kylo and Rey arc too, which is unfinished. You know,
it is.
I just want to point out, if they are going away from the sequel trilogy, why are they bringing out a book about Poe and his backstory with Zori? Why do you guys think that?
It's just to have one book. I think they're writing a full book to justify that stupid line that he was a spice trader, which offended a lot of people. And I think the reason they're bringing Poe was because it's the one that's gonna cause least issues. Although they should have done something with Finn then. I don't know why they're doing it, but you see, if you think about it as the only thing they're doing about the sequel trilogy, it's really not a lot. There are the comics as well.
No.
But what do you think about the Poe novel, Lee?
I mean, I don't know. I think that, like you said, he's the least offensive not offensive, but rather the least controversial of all the characters. He's like a knockoff Han Solo, right? And they can check off some diversity things too and say, oh, look, so yeah, they have to do something. It makes sense to do that. It makes sense to try to clarify their ridiculous making the Hispanic character the drug smuggler. I mean, please. So I understand, whatever. It's not going to do, I don't think it's going to do super well. I don't think people care enough for it to be successful. And probably was already planned. So whatever. But like if they can do something with Cassian from Rogue One, I think they can do something for Kylo later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I was just going to say there is the comics, the Rise of Kylo Ren. I've been reading them and they're so good and it's selling so well. And it's I'm so incredibly pleased that it is selling well because again it shows how popular Kylo is. Yes, and it's a good story, and it's not only about Kylo, how he wasn't really guilty, but the way he is convinced and he is he's taken in this thing. I think it speaks a lot about teenagers, how they are, and also there's some cool parts about the Force. I like it very much. I still have to read the fourth one, which hasn't come out, but it's something that really gives me hope. But I wish I really think they should. That's why I would love for them to do something as well done and as beautiful to kind of do a nice wrap up about his arc that was not well wrapped in Rey's arc, which was not well wrapped up in episode 9.
I agree.
No. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm sorry, I just can't get over how incredible it is that this comic is sold out. I actually went into my local comic, well, not my local, but the comic store the big comic store in the city I work in, and I asked one of the workers there, oh, do you have any of the Rise of Kylo Ren comics? And he went on to say to me that normally they order 10 of every new issue that comes out. For Rise of Kylo Ren 1 and 2, they ordered 30 issues each of each issue, and they sold out within days.
Wow.
That's what he said to me, and he said hopefully that they can get some more in, and obviously get some more in of the other ones, of the ones that sold out too. But he just said they just went like that, and he clicked his fingers, and I'm so pleased. even at the expense of me getting my copy, I'm so pleased that it's going.
Yeah. Something interesting about this is that it came out a recent interview with Charles Soule, and that it was his idea to do this, which is nice. The idea was really good. I'm really pleased with his writing. The only thing that's a little bit worrying is that there was no plan. We know there was no plan for Kylo, which is very oh my god, I can't believe
that's the biggest shock. Like for me, out of everything that happened with the sequel trilogy, the biggest shock is knowing that probably more work went into the design of the mask than into like let's actually plan something for this guy,
But it was a cool mask.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, wow. You can I think you can mostly see it now as a completed trilogy. Even in Force Awakens, like they left it open on so many things. I mean, I was convinced that there was going to be something more to Rey and Kylo's relationship, and it was going to go romantic, and she would help turn him from the dark side. But I don't think. I think that was just Rian Johnson just recognizing the potential of the relationship based on the interrogation scene and their fight in the snow.
No.
And thank God. I do, and thank God. I think because I think JJ full out admitted that he left it open for them to be brother and sister.
I don't think so. I think he was just trying to appease people.
No,
I don't know.
Okay, I just listened to the quote recently. He said, I think he just didn't want to offend anyone. He said, oh, it's open to many interpretations, something like that. You can see them as a brother-sibling thing or a sibling thing or romantic. For me, it's romantic. He said that. So yeah. I really think guys, he likes it. He likes
Let's go back to our roots. Like we talk so much about how JJ's the original Reylo. We have the quotes of him talking about, oh, you have a castle, you have a prince, you have a princess. I mean, he set this up from the beginning. Now, whatever he says now, obviously he screwed up in multiple ways with the trilogy and with Episode 9, and he recognized that he pissed off a lot of people. So he's saying things to try to, appease various groups of fans. But he's still saying it's not a brother or sister thing. But if that's how you want to look at it,
sure.
you do you. So.
I don't know anymore.
No.
I mean, that commentary on Force Awakens came out after so many people had written metas about Reylo and Fairy Tale. So I don't know. Maybe he saw them and thought, "Wow, I'm going to talk about this in my commentary."
That's not true. That's not true.
No.
Mary, I'm sorry. There's no fight. It's just like another movie. I forgot the name of the movie. You see the influences and you see, and also the Force Awakens has a lot of more identifiable romantic tropes than even The Last Jedi. And also Episode 9, with all the train wreck it was, it had this, you want to take my hand, I want to take your hand, and and he said that before that their relationship was the I forgot the center of the Episode 9. I think he's just a bad writer.
It's pretty clear that it's a romance. I mean, they kissed, if anything else, that should tell you that it's not a sibling thing. Hello.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's a Star Wars, but so he likes it. And also I remember there was an interview with Daisy Ridley and said, if they were cousins, then the Reylo fans would be shipping incest, and he smirks, and it's a satisfied smirk. And when he talks about them, when he talks about Kylo and Rey, he's excited. His eyes are sparkling. He likes it. He just blotched it. And I
guess I'm just so angry and mistrustful of what I'm so angry at what he did. I'm just mistrustful of him. Full stop.
He just blotched it, and maybe there was interference. Maybe he was afraid of it because, and maybe also Chris Terrio. I don't think he likes it, and he was writing with Chris Terrio. So yeah.
I think and this is just speculation. There's no way to know. We won't know, I think, until maybe many years from now when he probably will come clean about it. But I think that there was a grander scale Reylo plan that just was scaled back dramatically because of their fear of the backlash from the audience. They were afraid to take a stand on anything. So they just left everything ambiguous to appease groups of people rather than tell a good story. And that, I bet he regrets that. I mean, I'd like to hear him talk about it in the future, but right now it's all about everything's fine. We're proud of the work we did. What are you talking about? He's a Star Wars fan. He's got to know that this is crap.
It's like that gif with that meme with that yellow dog in the house surrounded by flames. That's JJ in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, but what is he gonna do? What is he gonna say? But and the more they talk, the worse it gets. But then the worse and not worse, because then we learn, because in the beginning I was like, am I being cruel about this movie? Maybe. And then when they start talking and the nonsense comes, like, oh my God. It was,
One thing I want to touch up about, another reason why I think Kylo was so popular in by being able to relate to him, and why I found it so insulting that they killed him off the way they did, was the fact that he's basically, he's basically, he's being groomed. He was a child that was groomed all his life, and even in the comics you see that, and in the book it was hinted that he hears this voice in his head, and and then you have Snoke touching him in very, very, creepy ways, like stroking his hair and his face, and you even see behind the scenes Andy Serkis stroking Adam Driver's eyelids, in behind the scenes in TLJ, and it's so disturbing, and
you know what, when that trailer came out, that where Palpatine's telling Kylo, I've been every voice that you've ever heard inside your head, and you can actually hear each voice changing. And even Darth Vader's voice. I was like, oh my God, I'm so certain they're not going to be able to kill him, because they're using, that's a very clear example of what mental illness can present like for a person, where, you don't draw that parallel and then treat the person so unkindly, because what kind of message are you sending, you know? So I thought it was just callous. It was disturbing, and it was insensitive, you know. And also when you have Kathleen Kennedy, I think it was talking about how, or JJ even, about how radicalized youth, you know, can fall into these traps, and then there is a path for rehabilitation. Well, is that really the path, that you have to die if you make a mistake like that? I mean, that's just awful. It's awful. They did not think that through at all. You know, that was just a lack of care. And a lack of attention to very important details there.
But, you know, it kind of like shows that, you know, Kylo Ren, maybe, you know, there was you know, there probably are people, in fact, no, I will take that back. There are people out there, so many Kylo Ren fans on Tumblr and on Twitter share why they empathize so much with Kylo Ren because of their battles with mental illness, because, you know, and because of you know, their history of being abused in their family, and then, you know, and so to have that character ripped away from them so cruelly like that, it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and that's why, you know, I was so offended at his death. Most of all, that is why I do not like the death of Kylo Ren, because it shows that even if you are a victim, you know, the only thing you deserve really is death. You can't come out and live your own life and be happy with the people you love. Nope, you've got to die.
Yeah, you can't earn redemption, basically, and have a happy ending. And that would be sad in any medium. But when you're talking about Star Wars, where redemption and faith in people's ability to change, you know, and to turn towards the light, that's like at the core. And messages about family and love and all that. And you do this to Kylo Ren? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, I think they lost sight of what they were doing, you know. They lost sight of the big picture.
Absolutely. I think they've forgotten what the core values of Star Wars is, which is redemption and forgiveness and love and family, as you said. It's also how the Skywalker family was treated as a whole. You know, Anakin's sacrifice, you know, now means nothing. His role as the Chosen One now means nothing. Everything that, you know, Luke and Leia fought for, and that's why I find it so insulting as well.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Anything else, guys?
I think they did a great job creating him. JJ and Kasdan in The Force Awakens. Their acting is great too. The acting is great. There's some great camera movements. Even and also The Last Jedi, we've already commented how it focuses so much on Kylo to the detriment of other characters sometimes. But I think it was really well done in that movie. And 9, unfortunately, wasn't. But
I have one question for you both. If Kylo, Ben Solo, we should call him, if Ben Solo had survived and had been with Rey at the end, what future stories would you have liked to have seen with them?
I would have liked to have seen them redefining what is a Jedi, you know, and understanding the origins of it, exploring the Force together, and then maybe teaching others, and having adventures with still like remnants of Sith stuff that might pop up now and then, you know, or maybe even traveling through time too. And I don't know, I thought it would have been really cool for more Force plot oriented stuff, you know, and to see them maybe raise their family together. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I would like to see the new generation and their struggles, and yeah, that's what I would like to see.
We really missed that with Anakin, you know. I don't know if you guys have followed some of these artists that are like super talented. Like we have some of those artists on Tumblr that we follow, that they show like comic strips basically showing the life that Anakin and Padme and the twins would have had if they had all been able to stay a family together. You know, that would have been awesome to see like Anakin be a dad to Luke and Leia. In that same way, I would have loved to have seen Ben being a parent to the Reylo babies with Rey, and to see kind of those dynamics. So that would have been, it's like a missed opportunity there. But again, you never know.
Never know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my fan fiction with them surviving would have been, well, it's kind of tied to how I would have written a sequel trilogy, but my idea would have been like them like living together, you know, away from everything, you know, just enjoying the life that they have at the minute, and then like a big Force bad comes into the picture and starts trying to resurrect, you know, like certain Sith Lords, and they have to stop him. And then I would have ended it with Rey saying to Ben that she was pregnant. That would be my fan fiction TV show on Disney Plus. Maybe I might write it. You never know.
Yay!
I would watch the hell out of that.
Yeah, let us know when you write it. We can read it.
Maybe. No promises.
Guys, I just wanted to say, you know, if you're familiar at all with the stages of grief, right? You go through all these stages, and that can happen in any order for people. But anger, right? Denial, like, there's no way they could have done this. I can't accept that they did this, right? And bargaining, like, well, if they would have done this instead of that, you know, it would have worked better, like what we're doing now. And then, you know, sadness, and finally acceptance. So when you get to the acceptance part, it's a matter of, yes, we're sad that this ended this way. We're sad that they treated Kylo and you know, Ben Solo in this way. But we're also grateful that we had such an amazing character. You know, it was a gift to be able to, you know, to get to know him and to identify with him, and he's going to be part of us, you know. So it's still something to celebrate that we got an amazing character, even if things didn't. He wasn't done justice, right? I felt the same way with Snape in many ways with Harry Potter. But awesome that we got to know this character. So I'm still happy overall, even though I've said many times in moments of anger, like, oh, the sequel trilogy just sucks. I wish they'd never done it. No, we got Kylo. That was a pretty good deal.
And through Kylo, we met each other and did this podcast.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was just gonna say, I think when we like characters so much because they represent a part of us. And I think it's that little part of us that we saw ourselves in Kylo, that it might hurt, you know. But on the other hand, it was nice to have this experience of seeing it. And it was not just the death. I mean, some people say, I mean, maybe if the death had been handled differently, maybe it would have been better. It would have worked, you know. It was just the way that basically they didn't commit to his arc in episode 9 to have a really neat redemption story, beautiful, which could have been amazing. I think that's it, right?
Yep. So thank you for joining us, guys. Let us know what you love about Ben Solo and Kylo Ren in the comics. Please subscribe; it helps us a lot. And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Until next time, and may the Force serve you well.